Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of The Awesome with Cody. As usual, I'm your host, Cody, and today we are wrapping up April's theme of awesome hardcore sci-fi movies. Took me to the end of the month to remember what I've called it, but we're here. Anyhow, so today we are talking about Cowboys and Aliens. Some of you might remember this from 2011. Some of you may not. But I'm going to tell you about it. How's that? Okay. So this movie, on paper, this movie is ridiculous. So it's based on a graphic novel of the same name by Scott Mitchell Rosenberg, which we'll get to him eventually. Well, actually, we can talk about him right now because his career's not that fucking storied. So he wrote a comic book that was produced. Who produced it? Sun Dispute? No. Who did that one? I can't remember who produced it. I should have looked it up earlier. I don't remember where. Wasn't DC, was it? I can't. It doesn't matter. Anyways, you can go and find it. Actually, wait. Haha, I do have it. I had it. I clicked on it. Right. I'm so out of my. Bum. Oh, Platinum Studios. There you go. Anyhow, so Cowboys and Aliens, on paper, does a joke there. The people behind this was staggering, and I'll get to who all was in it and who made it, who helped bring it together, and it's kind of weird that it didn't go anywhere, that it was shit on everywhere, but also there's a reason. There's kind of a reason why. It's an awesome movie, don't get me wrong. I actually really, really enjoy it. And rewatching it, I haven't seen it in a few years. Rewatching it was fantastic. Anyhow, the biggest problem with this movie is there was a lot of hands in said cookie jar, and I'll get to that list of people. So, directed by Jon Favreau, of Iron Man fame. This particular one came out right on the heels of Iron Man 2. It was supposed to be massive, and it shit the bed pretty badly because it's sci-fi and unknown project, and it's a wacky title and all sorts of fun stuff. Anyhow, Jon Favreau. If you really go by the movies he's directed, made Elf, Zathura, A Space Adventure, Iron Man 1 and 2, Cowboys and Aliens, Chef, The Jungle Book, Lion King, created Mandalorian for Disney Plus. He's been, acting wise, he's been in a bunch of stuff. I'm not even going to list of all the stuff he's been acting in and producing and things like that, because man, there's a lot of them. But anyways, that's Jon Favreau. You know who he is. Brian Grazer is a producer. He was a producer of this movie. He produced a lot of other stuff. So many things. Movie wise, Backdraft, The Doors, Boomerang, let's see, The Cowboy Whale, Apollo 13, Fear, I think I said, Mercury Rising, Psycho, the remake, not the original, newer movies, well, we're not going to say Backdraft 2, but a lot of movies. Television wise, he created or he executive produced a shit ton of TV films. But he helped produce or is it the PJs? The TV show Shark, which actually we randomly talked about on the podcast. 24, I believe, was his thing. Yeah, there it is, 24. I mean, he's done so many things. Brian Grazer is huge, massive. Ron Howard produced this as well. I'm telling you, the just the power of people behind the camera. This movie should have been a huge franchise, but I guess it's too wacky for most people. And it's Ron Howard, director of so many things. Actor. You'll remember him as from, well, I mean, as far back as let's see. Well, Happy Days, Night Shift. Well, it's movie wise, sorry. Where's his acting ones? As actor. So movie wise, he was American Graffiti with Harrison Ford. We'll talk about it in a minute. There's so many things he's been in. Obviously Happy Days is probably the one of the bigger ones. And it's Ron Howard. I mean, he's been in Andy Griffith's show. I said he was in Happy Days. He's in like episode of MASH, I think, or he was in MASH. I can't remember. He's been in a lot of things. Directing wise, though, I mean, like I said, Night Shift, which he had a cameo in. Cocoon, Willow, Backdraft, Far and Away, Apollo 13, Ransom. It's funny, Ed TV, him and Ed Grazer did a lot of these ones. Or Ed Grazer, Jesus Christ. Brian Grazer did a bunch of these. Da Vinci Code, Cinderella Man, Beautiful Mind, How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Has a daughter who's in the newer Jurassic World movies. Bryce Dallas Howard. Also, she directed an episode of Mandalorian. We're coming back for season 2 of Mandalorian, probably season 3 too. But yeah, that's Ron Howard. You know who he is. He also narrates Arrested Development. So there you go. Let's see. Damon Lindelof, we've talked about when I talked about Watchmen, as well as I've talked about Leftovers on this here podcast. Movie-wise, he produced the first reboot of Star Trek with J.J. Abrams. He wrote and executive produced Prometheus. He technically partially wrote World War Z. He wrote Star Trek Into Darkness, Tomorrowland. I really want to see The Hunt. That looks ridiculous. He was co-creator of and writer on and executive producer of Lost. Nash Bridges, he wrote on that one. It's Damon Lindelof. I've talked about him before on here. Then we have Mark Fergus and Hawk Otsby. These two, not super hugely well known for anything other than a few things. Biggest thing is they're screenwriters on Children of Men and Iron Man. They did obviously Cowboys and Aliens. And then they are the creators and executive producers of a TV show called The Expanse, which I've talked about on here, and Joe and I have talked about on the other podcast. And then I want to say that was it for them, right? Yeah. Then you have Roberto Orsi and Alex Kurtzman, who have worked on just a ton of things. They co-wrote Star Trek Into Darkness. They co-wrote the Transformers movies. They co-wrote Mission Impossible 3 with J.J. Abrams. They worked on The Island with what's his name? The guy who likes to blow stuff up doing slow-mo. Michael Bay. Good Lord, I can't think of his name. Did the Transformers movies also. But yeah, they've done a bunch of stuff. The remake of The Mummy. Alex Kurtzman directed it. He co-wrote it with a ton of people, which is another problem with it. But he produced it. He wrote Amazing Spider-Man 2 with Robert Orci. Well, a couple people. TV-wise, he wrote the where's it at? Hercules, Legendary Journey, Xena, Warrior Princess. Show called Jack of All Trades. If you guys want to look that one up, that one's a fun one. Alias. Then he went into where he met, where they first worked with J.J. Abrams, if I'm not mistaken, and then they went on to work with J.J. Abrams on Fringe, and then they helped create did they help create Hawaii Five-0, the new show that's about to end? They did the pilot for the failed Lock and Key show on Fox. They did the Sleepy Hollow show together. Alex Kurtzman directed Star Trek Discovery, one episode. He also co-created it and writes it with Roberto Orci. And the Picard show, they helped create that one and write that one as well. As well as Eagle Eye, a couple other movies. Then we come along to another writer on it, the last of the writers. Then I'll get into actually who's acting in it or who acted in it. You have a gentleman who you may confuse the name of because his brother's a famous actor, and his name is Steve Odenkirk. His brother Bob Odenkirk is, I believe it's his brother, right? I want to say it's his brother. I don't remember if I even looked it up. I always thought it was the same. I thought they're brothers. Anyways, Bob Odenkirk is in Better Call Saul as well as Breaking Bad. I'm going to look that up right now because pretty sure I'm correct on saying that's his brother is Bob Odenkirk. Oh, no, that's two different people. I thought they were related. Well, I'm an idiot. Oh, no, it's spelled way different. Odenkirk. Okay. Yeah. Nope. Sorry. Not his brother. But Bob Odenkirk's awesome too. But Steve Odenkirk came to my attention way after what I thought was well, I'll explain it. He has a bunch of things called thumbs. They're parodies, is the best way to put it. Basically, he made a bunch of short films by using thumbs and then digitally putting on mouths and eyes. I know it sounds very weird, but he started with Thumb Wars, the Phantom Cuticle, fucking fantastic name, which is a parody of Star Wars, released in 1999. He did God Thumb, Bat Thumb, Franken Thumb, The Blair Thumb, Thumbtanic, and then he was supposed to release one called Thumb Wars, The Thighs of Sky Skipper, but I don't think it ever came out. But yeah, that's the thumbs stuff. Fucking ridiculous. He's written a bunch of stuff. Ace Ventura, When Nature Calls, The Nutty Professor, Nutty Professor 2, Patch Adams, Nothing to Lose. He directed Nothing to Lose. He also directed Ace Ventura, When Nature Calls. something. Oh, actually, some people may know Kung Pao Enter the Fist was something he directed, wrote, produced, and starred in, and it's ridiculous. And you guys should watch it if you want to. Actually, I'll do wacky comedies, and I'll bring up that one at one point, because that shit's fucking out there. He wrote Bruce Almighty, Evan Almighty. He created Barnyard, the movie, as well as the TV program, where he does voices on there as well. And then the series, the sequel to Kung Pao, which is called Tongue of Fury. Ridiculous. Television show, he did the O Show. Is that why I thought he was brothers with Bob? Because wasn't Bob on that one? I don't remember. No, it was the Man. No, that's the Man Show. I can't remember. Anyways, he wrote. I think he created Jimmy Neutron, or did he write on Jimmy Neutron? I don't remember. Anyhow, that's Bob Odenkirk. Odenkirk. I don't know. I think it's Odenkirk. I thought it was spelled same as Bob's, but they're not even related. So I'm an idiot. I've thought that for years. Oh well. Anyways, so starring. All right. So there's a lot of power behind the camera, writing wise, producing wise, directing wise, massive, which is probably where some of the cost of this movie came from. But then you have stars, and there are a handful of well-known names, recognizable faces, one shitbird, and then a couple character actors that are amazing. So first off, you have Daniel Craig. So Daniel Craig plays the main character. The name of Jake Langren. Langren? I can't remember. Anyways, he's an outlaw. So you have Daniel Craig of James Bond fame nowadays. Done so many things. Road to Perdition, Layer Cake, which is how he got James Bond. The Jacket. Well, he's barely in The Jacket, though. So that's not really... No, he's still in it. He was in Munich. He's in Casino Royale, which is obviously the first James Bond movie he did. The Invasion, which is the remake of Invasion of the Body Snatchers. It was all right. The Golden Compass, which was decent but not great, especially compared to what came out just recently. That's for another show. Quantum of Solace, obviously. The fucked up movie Dreamhouse. He was in Adventures of Tintin. He was in Knives Out, which is amazing. Logan Lucky, he was amazing in that. He was a stormtrooper in Force Awakens. Television-wise, never saw any of these. Bunch of TV films, bunch of shit over in England. Bunch of stage stuff, which I definitely have not seen. He played Othello? No, he played Iago. Okay. Whew, I was like, whoa, that's weird. Not that weird. It's whatever. All right. So yeah, that's Daniel Craig. You know Daniel Craig. You know, old blue eyes. Then you have Harrison Ford. I'm not even gonna go over Harrison Ford. I mean, it's Harrison Ford. He's fucking Han Solo. He's Indiana Jones. I mean, it's just ridiculous. He got to say the N-word in 42. Olivia Wilde, who has been in a lot of stuff. Early on, she was bit parts. One of her big breaks was probably one of the biggest ones was either Tron Legacy or later on. Oh, she's done a bunch of stuff. Tron Legacy is probably one of the bigger ones. Alpha Dog, she was in that. Anyways, it's Olivia Wilde. She's been in a bunch of stuff. You can look it up. She's done that. She was on The OC on TV. She was a bunch of other stuff. House, that's what I was thinking of. Another one show she was on. House. Then you have Sam Rockwell, who's amazing. I've talked about this. I talked to him last month because he was in Moon, which led into me making this month's theme because of Duncan Jones, who did Source Code, and Source Code's amazing. Talked about it a couple weeks ago. Yeah, Sam Rockwell, he's fucking fantastic. And I just watched Mr. Perfect again, or Mr. Right, the other day, and I fucking love that movie. It is so bonkers. I'll talk about that movie sometime too, mainly so I can talk about Max Landis and his ridiculous ass. Anyways, that's Sam Rockwell. He's been in a bunch of stuff. You know who he is. I talked about him before. Next up is Adam Beach. This is one of the guys you may not know by name, but you'll recognize his face. That's because he is a well-known Native American Indian or actor. He is of Navajo descent, right? Oh, he's Aboriginal Canadian. My bad. He's not American Indian. He's Canadian Indian. Anyhow, his biggest movies were probably Windtalkers and Skinwalkers, which is weird, because they were released in the same year. It doesn't matter. Anyways, he was also Kickin' Wing in Joe Dirt, one of my favorite comedies of all time. He's the guy who sells fireworks and becomes friends with him, with Joe Dirt. He was also in Suicide Squad. Unfortunately, as Slipknot, he got killed right away. So don't expect to see him in the sequel because he got blown up. But Adam Beach, he's an amazing actor. He's been in so many things, and he's really good in pretty much everything I've seen him in. Mystery Alaska is a really good movie if you like sports movies. It's about hockey up in Alaska. That's why it's called Mystery Alaska. TV wise, he was in a handful of episodes of different things. Apparently he was in 7 episodes of Nancy Drew, the new show. Did not know that. Bunch of TV movies. Yeah, anyways, that's Adam Beach. He's awesome. Black Hawk Down, he was in Black Hawk Down. You remember that movie? That movie's fucking rad. I'll do a war movies one month. I'm getting sidetracked again, I'm sorry. Next up is Noah Ringer. Actually, you know what? I'm going to come back to Noah Ringer because that's our shitbird, and I'll be right back to talk about that piece of garbage. I say that, and you'll understand what I mean by this. Then we'll skip over him for right now. We'll go to Clancy Brown. Clancy Brown, I'll always remember of 2 things. There's always 2 things I'll always remember Clancy Brown as, and they are this. Number 1, Starship Troopers. He played Sergeant Charles Zim. He's the one that captured the brain bug at the end, but he's also the dude from the drill instructor, or the boot camp, right? It was boot camp that they went through. Anyways, that's one. I will always remember that. He's been in so many things, but that'll be number 1 thing I always remember him from. Number 2, well, besides, like, obviously this movie, but that's not what I jump to right away when I think of Clancy Brown. To me, I always go back to, I look down, and not on my notes, but I looked down and I saw Earth 2. If you guys don't remember Earth 2 was a TV show that was on, where was it? NBC? Yeah, NBC. What a fucking weird show. So, in the year 2192, most of the human population has fled Earth to live on a large orbiting space station, or large orbiting space stations. Only a small number of humans remain on Earth's surface, as the Earth had become mostly uninhabitable. Billionaire Devin Adair's 8-year-old son, Ulysses Adair, has contracted a rare, fatal disease called the Syndrome, a condition whose existence is not acknowledgeable by the government and medical community. Blah, 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 blah. What a weird fucking show that was. It ran for like a season and a half or some nonsense. Anyways, I digress. My bad. I got distracted yet again. Anyways, the next thing I'll always remember him for, besides the fact he's been in so many things, is he played Brother Justin Crow in one of the greatest shows that was ever canceled by HBO called Carnival. Show is amazing. and I believe I briefly talked about this when I did my HBO shows not too long ago. Not in depth, but just briefly. He was phenomenal in it. So good. That show is amazing. And it's funny because years later, it dawned on me, it's very similar to one of my favorite comic books, American Jesus or The Chosen, depending on where or when you got it and what you know about it. Anyways, if you have HBO, either through your cable provider, satellite provider, you subscribe to HBO Now or soon to be HBO Max, you should check out Carnival if you can. It's phenomenal. He's amazing in it, and the show is so fucking good, and it makes me mad that they did 2 seasons and then fucking shitted on it. But anyways, I digress. That's Clancy Brown. He's amazing. We have Paul Dano up next. Paul Dano has been in a lot of things. The only thing you need to see him in, because he's phenomenal in it, plus the movie's amazing, is There Will Be Blood. He's amazing in a lot of things, but that movie, he steps it up quite a bit. He plays 2 different characters, and he's amazing in it. He's also coming in the new Batman movie. The Batman will be out next year. He plays the Riddler, so that should be interesting. And Prisoners. I talked about this when I was talking about Jake Gyllenhaal, I think, if I remember correctly, when I was talking about Source Code. And I'll talk about this because I'm going to do a Thrillers one, and I'm going to wait till like later in the year or something. But Prisoners is a fucked up movie, and I want to talk about it, but not right now, because I've already wasted 26 minutes, and I haven't talked to you about the movie yet. So I told you there's a lot of shit in this. That's why I waited it for last, because I knew this would be a lot. Anyhow, Paul Dano, look him up. He's amazing. But yeah, that's him. And then last, before I go back to the shitbird that it made this movie the worst, we have Keith Carradine. Keith Carradine is amazing. He's one of the Carradine family members. His brother, you might know him. It doesn't matter. Anyways, so he's been in a lot of things. I was trying to think of one thing, but like, hey, that's him. There's so many things. Movie-wise, he's done so many movies. I was trying to think of one big one to do, but what I was going to talk about for him would be, well, not Fast Track. That's funny. Where is it? Dexter. Played Special Agent Frank Lundy. I've seen it. He also plays Penny's father in Big Bang Theory, if you guys ever watched that show. But Dexter. He was also in Deadwood for 5 episodes, but that's for another HBO month. Anyhow, Dexter. So he played Special Agent Frank Lundy in the last... Well, he was in the last 2 seasons? No. Was last 2 seasons? Doesn't matter. He's phenomenal in that. Even though the end of that show sucked fucking ass. He was in that, and he was amazing. He's also been in he plays the president apparently in Madam Secretary, which I don't know. I don't watch that show. But yeah, he's been on that. He's been 92 episodes of that. Holy shit. I didn't know that. I've never watched that show. But yeah, he was amazing in Dexter for the 2 seasons he was in it. Phenomenal actor. I've seen him in so many things. There's one of those dudes you'd see him, you're like, oh, that guy. Okay, yeah. David Carradine's brother. Half-brother, right? Yeah. Half-brother David Carradine. Anyhow. Boom. He's awesome. I like that dude. And he's been in a lot of stuff. And you'll recognize him. All right, let's go back to Noah Ringer. Right? Is his name Noah Ringer? This fucking kid. He's done 2 movies in his entire career. All right? He's a martial artist of some sort or something. And there's a reason he got the first role he got. And it's not totally his fault, all right? Not totally his fault that this movie sucked balls, but he was not good in it. And the movie itself suffered a lot because of his terrible acting, which is The Last Airbender, the live action adaptation of The Last Airbender. Avatar: The Last Airbender, I should say. He played Aang, with the titular character. Number one, he's the dude, right? Like, you would think they get this. They would get somebody who's fucking good at acting. No, they went out and got a fucking little kid martial artist. You're trying to tell me you couldn't train a fucking kid to move his arms and legs? He doesn't actually have to fight. Aang doesn't actually fight. Watch the fucking The Last Airbender, the cartoon. Okay, I'm sorry. Then he was in this fucking movie, and he's terrible in it too. He can't act. I don't know why the fuck they put him in this, because he was not good in Last Airbender. They must have had him under contract or something. I don't know. But he doesn't act anymore, and I fucking know why, because he's not good. I digress. Anyhow, that's it for the cast and crew of this movie. I will briefly go over this movie because there's not a lot to it. So basically, this dude, played by Daniel Craig, goes by the name of Jake. He wakes up in the desert with no memory and a weird metal bracelet attached to his wrist. Everyone thinks it's a weird handcuff. Spoiler alert, it's not. It's an alien weapon. Anyhow, he wanders into town where he meets Clancy Brown's character, the preacher, who, by the way, this is like, I want to say his fourth time playing a preacher, fifth time maybe, other than the carnival, and then there's one other thing I can't think of right now, but I'm pretty sure. Anyhow, Clancy Brown, it's his voice, I think. He's very good. But when I was reading Revival, no, I haven't read Revival yet. What was I reading where they had a preacher in it? Might have been The Gunslinger. Anyhow, I read something where there was a preacher in it, and I just pictured Clancy Brown. Anyhow, I digress again. He finds in this town of Absolution. He runs into the preacher. Preacher helps him, tends his wounds. Sheriff John Taggart, played by Keith Carradine, recognizes the stranger as the wanted man, an outlaw, Jake Lonergan. Lonergan. I don't know how to say his name. And he attempts to arrest him. Jake nearly escapes, but a woman named Ella Swenson, Olivia Wilde, knocks him out. Boom. Taggart and his men prepare to transport both Jake and the young drunkard Percy Dollarhide, I believe is how they say his name in this. Yeah, who's played by Paul Dano, to Santa Fe for trial. Well, the problem is Paul Dano's character, Percy Dollarhide, is the son of Colonel Woodrow Dollarhide, played by Harrison Ford. And the reason why this is bad, because Harrison Ford is not good people in this. And so, his father, Harrison Ford, a ruthless cattle baron, arrives with armored men and demands Percy's release. He also wants Jake, who has stolen gold from him. During a standoff, alien crafts begin attacking the town. Percy, Taggart, and other townsfolk are abducted by long whip-like feelers coming out of the ships, right? Did I get that right? Yeah. So they mount up a posse of Dollarhide, Ella, with Jake, and a couple other people, and they go after him. And they find out that the bracelet is actually a weapon, and he uses it, and they fight the aliens to try to get back to people they're going after. And then that's not the story is not what made this amazing. It's just the fun of the movie that made it amazing. Anyhow, so they're going about, and they find that there was an attack by some Native Americans who blame the people in the town for the alien attack after the scuffle, during the scuffle, Ella's killed. Right? Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. The aliens attack again, and they abduct Ella. Jake jumps on board the ship and attacks the alien pilot, causing the ship to crash in a river. The pilot survives the crash and attacks Ella, fatally wounding her before Jake kills it with his wrist blaster, the bracelet thing on his wrist. They put Ella's corpse into the fire by one of the Chickasaw or whatever it is, warriors, the Native American Apache guys that attack. And then it's discovered that Ella reveals herself as being from another alien race who had traveled to Earth to help resist the invasion of the ones that are here now. Okay. All right. Are we on board still? Everyone's still with me? I'm getting through this real quick because I'm running overtime. So then she claims she knows the secret of the whereabouts of the aliens and how to get the bracelet thing off of him. And they go there, which is the mothership, which is buried underground or in a mountain, right? Buried in a mountain. I just watched this the other day. I should remember this. There it is. Yeah. So, their base operations, their landed mothership. Boom. There it is. Armed with this knowledge, they plan to siege the alien base. Jake leaves to persuade his old gang to join the fight while Dollarhide takes command of the original group and the Apaches. After the combined forces maneuver aliens into a ground battle, Jake and Ella board the ship, free the captives, but Jake is captured. Dollarhide rescues him, and both men escape from the ship after killing the aliens responsible for Alice's death. I skipped over that part. Alice died earlier. Sorry. The ship takes off as the remaining aliens flee Earth, but Ella stays on board to end the threat. She sacrifices herself by entering the ship's core and turning Jake's wrist weapon into a bomb. It detonates, obliterating the ship. With the aliens gone, the rescued townsfolk beginning to remember their pasts because their brains were wiped, just like Jake's was. Still a wanted man, Jake chooses to leave. The sheriff and Dollarhide decide to claim he has been killed in the invasion, and the citizens intend to rebuild their town. That's the end of the movie. You should watch it just because the action scenes are awesome. Just try to avoid any. Just remember the kid who's in this, who plays Emmett, John Taggart's youngest or grandson. He's only in a little bit, and he's fucking terrible. But that's it. Everyone else is really good in it. And there's a bunch of other people you recognize in it too. Walter Goggins is in it. There's some other people that you recognize in there too. Anyhow, that's it. Yeah, so that's it for this week's episode, this month's theme as well. We've been talking about awesome hardcore sci-fi movies, and we were talking about today about Cowboys and Aliens, which you should watch, which I watched on Blu-ray? No, I watched on Stars. Hold on, let me grab my notes off my phone. I'll tell you where I watched it. Not that it matters, but I watched it on iTunes. I watched it on iTunes because I own an iTunes. Stars was Source Code. No, Battle Los Angeles. I don't fucking remember. It has been a long month. Anyhow, Cowboys and Aliens. Check it out. It's a fucking dope movie. But that's it for this week's episode. You should. I forgot to mention. I saw this. I saw the premiere. I saw this movie twice in theaters. Once I saw the premiere at the 2011 San Diego Comic-Con, which was in the same room as Harrison Ford. That was the same year I rode in an elevator with Harrison Ford. That's a story for another time. I've never told it on here. Fun little story where I literally almost shit my pants. Not like literally, figuratively, of course. It's a fun story. And then when I got back from San Diego, we went as a group to see it in theaters. But I liked it. I saw the premiere. It was really fun. Not the greatest premiere, area for premiere. It was at the old, what what was that theater called? Not the Capitan. I don't remember what it's called, but it's an older theater there. But it had a lot of the stars were there, and it was pretty cool. John Favreau, Harrison Ford, I believe Daniel Craig was there. Olivia Wilde was there. I think Sam Rockwell was there. I know Paul Dano was there. It's been a long time. It's been 9 years. Anyhow, that's it for this week's episode and this month's theme of awesome hardcore sci-fi movies. I've been your host, Cody. This has been the Awesome with Cody, and as usual, let's be awesome.